Allora, Jeff Sachs vanta un'esperienza enorme. Si collega in qualità di co-presidente della Regeneration Society Foundation, è presidente dell'SDSN, che è il Sustainable Development Solution Network delle Nazioni Unite, è direttore del Centro per lo Sviluppo Sostenibile di Columbia University, è stato advisor di 3 direttori generali delle Nazioni Unite e crede in tutto questo con ogni cellula del suo corpo. Ascoltarlo parlare è sempre di grandissima ispirazione e con lui faremo un po' il punto su come lui vede il divario tra ciò che sappiamo e come stiamo vivendo, tra i propositi che abbiamo e quelli che stiamo veramente riuscendo a mettere a terra ora. So you've already been presented to the crowd. They have great expectations to hear how we can fill the gap between where we are and where we want to go. How do you see our trajectory, and do you think that talking about a regenerative economy today is something realistic?
Realistic. I don't know. If we're too realistic, we're not going to make it. We have to be a bit idealistic. We're in a very very strange time and a very pivotal time. On the one hand, all the things that we do talk about with the need for regeneration, the need for sustainability, the need for social justice are more important than ever. At the same time, our capacity to deliver on these aims from a political point of view is clearly in a very big crisis. We're not cooperating. We're not delivering. Uh, we have meeting after meeting, as we just had in Brazil, the COP30, or as we just had in South Africa, the G20, that is really wholly unsatisfactory. I was at the G20. I was there. President Trump was not there. The United States didn't show up. It said, we don't want to cooperate. Uh, Halfway around the world in Belém, Brazil, the United States didn't show up there either. It said, we don't believe in addressing climate change. President Trump said climate change is a hoax. So I can't tell you from a political perspective that I'm very pleased about the situation. It's rather alarming. Even Europe, which I would say 10 years ago was in the world forefront on these issues, is plays very little role right now.
So
Europe is.
can we imagine? Sorry, the only reason
Oh,
I'm
sure, sure.
interrupting you is I know you could go on this topic for a long
No, I'm
time,
sorry.
but
I
we
don't mean I don't mean to
no, but
perseverate.
can we imagine the torch being held, and can we imagine our hearts to be warmed and our thoughts be illuminated by many citizens and communities around the world that are working for what we want?
Well, let me try it this way, perhaps a little bit paradoxical, and I hope not shocking to people. But yesterday, I read the detailed uh, Chinese government statement about their 15th five-year plan, which is going to be adopted next March. Wow, that was all about green transformation. That was all about environmental sustainability. It was all about global cooperation. The country we are told to hate in our Western media actually has a uh, a rhetoric and a plan that, at a political level, is very well oriented.
Well,
In
that's
fact,
come up a number of times during these 2 days.
oh,
So
that's interesting.
But what does that tell us about democracy? It certainly is easier to order everyone to do the right thing, right?
It's not ordering. It's
No?
different. What it tells us is that uh, the West is losing its self-confidence. Uh, the West is in a very defensive mode because it doesn't run the world, but it doesn't also want to cooperate with others. Um, why didn't President Trump show up at the G20? My interpretation is basically psychological. He doesn't want to be one of a group of cooperating countries. He wants to boss others around. So I don't think that it's that China's telling others what to do. It's actually interesting. My colleagues in China, and I have many, many colleagues and former students, were on committees for the last 2 years on thinking through issues, advising. It's been a very, very participatory process to reach this stage of thinking about their own way forward. So maybe my pessimism is mainly about us. Uh, I want our societies to cooperate with the rest of the world, with the developing countries, with not in a defensive way. I want to get past the recent rise of militarism in Europe, which I find shocking. How could Europe begin to say we're going to spend 5% of GDP on the military and uh, basically we're going to have to cut back on social well-being and on our environmental objectives? Well, it comes from, of course, a Russophobia, which to my mind is irrational. It's because we're not even talking with others right now. We're just deciding how dangerous everything is. And so we're in a very, very defensive mode. So I think maybe to give a better answer to your question, I just finished traveling in 15 countries uh, in Asia, in Africa, and in the Middle East. First, everyone is very unsettled, so I think this is worth pointing out. But the mood is very different in Europe and the United States from the rest of the world. Uh, and there is a general sense that we're not talking with each other. And maybe one more point specifically on regeneration, because I know I'm uh, not being very coherent. I'm sorry about that. At a technical level, we have better and better ways to solve the problems that we are confronted with. So, in terms of precision agriculture, in terms of restoration of degraded land, in terms of zero carbon energy systems, we're actually empowered far more than we thought we would be at this point when we viewed this at the Paris Agreement, for example. The cost of green energy has come down by another order of magnitude, another factor 10. We could really power the world with solar power and backup storage if we choose to do so. We could really stop deforestation and turn to restoration of land. That would capture, by the way, a lot of carbon. It would be a way to address another urgent fact, which is that the global warming has actually accelerated rather dramatically in recent years. So we have a rather urgent need to find ways to capture carbon and to get it out of the air. And the only way to do that is biologically, not geologically. So if we worked very hard on land restoration, we could restore tens of millions of hectares of land that has been degraded and forests that have been cut down and make a very big difference actually within the next 20 or 30 years. So at a technical level, we should be pleased that the tools are better than ever. At a global political level, not all is lost, but what has been lost is our sense of cooperation, the optimism that we should face the future together, and that we should actually come up with practical ways to address these crises. Um,
Well, we've been hearing lots of practical solutions, so
good,
that's on the positive note. And we are all willing to keep working on our conscience. And I will swallow my many more questions because I hope that we have questions from the crowd. Would
good.
someone like to ask a question? No? I
Yeah,
can keep
sorry to be a downer. It's
No, no, you're not a downer. I mean, okay, no questions? Yes, one question? Maybe? Yes. We have a question. There is hope. Okay, no, I'm not going to talk. Yes, we have a question.
So there's just this comment based on what I've just heard you say. What is coming up to me is that the crisis is not a climate crisis or a biodiversity loss crisis as much as it is a relational crisis. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
it is relational, definitely. It's really political in the broad political sense that politics means that we can act for our shared interest, for our common good, and at a society scale. Of course, in the end of the day, our actions are millions or billions of individual actions, and all of our actions make a difference. But we're not going to overcome our crises by the decentralized actions alone. We need politics, and we need politics at uh, multiple scales. We really need global cooperation. We need to move beyond these rather useless meetings of the cops. Uh, I've been to 20 of them. I would say I skipped this year to be at the G20, but and which was also completely ineffective. But the point is, we're not solving the problems, and this is politics. Uh, I regard the United States as the worst behavior in the world right now. It's so powerful, a $30 trillion economy. Uh, it doesn't even show up anymore. It doesn't even talk. But I also can't find in Europe a voice right now. The European Union work program for 2026 doesn't even mention the Sustainable Development Goals. Uh, the idea that there's a European Green Deal is basically gone. Um, everything is about the war in Ukraine. Everything is about remilitarization. Everything is about the $800 billion Euro arms package and so forth. This is really our problem. It is a political problem. Yes, it's relational, but it's relational at a political level. And just to say the fact that the United States has a president like Donald Trump, it speaks for itself.
Well, he was voted, sadly. I mean,
Uh,
that's the, that's the reality we might have to face. But that
well,
could be
no, but just to say he was voted, but it's a political system that is completely broken. Uh, every president has been a failure, so each one produces its opposite the next time around. It's just a political system that doesn't deliver anything for our public or for the world right now. It's completely uh, without a sense of common good. And so this is what I think is most troubling and what I hope people could help to solve.
Well, maybe we're moving towards decentralized governments while decentralization is having a hard time coming through in other areas. But we're over time. One
Okay.
last burning question. Do you still believe in the SDGs?
Of course I do. I work morning and night for them because the SDGs are an expression of, as they were put when they were adopted, the future we want. Could one stop working towards ending poverty, hunger, lack of education for children, lack of health coverage, lack of protection for the climate, lack of protection for marine and terrestrial ecosystems? Of course not. These are not nice optional goals. These are really a rather impressive shared description by the 193 world governments at the time in 2015 of what a future should be. And they were adopted. Now the United States is in open war against them. I kid you not. The United States left UNESCO recently saying that it left UNESCO because UNESCO is promoting the Sustainable Development Goals. So of course I'm not against them. I'm working every day to try to find ways to help them to progress. And they will be with us because no matter what any politician says, these crises of environment and social inequality and breakdown of even basic public services in many places, or lack of basic public services, are pressing realities. And so we're going to have these goals because they really are humanity's goals. The problem is we're not achieving them, and we're going to have to figure out how to overcome that gap.
Okay, last of the last questions. We have a conscience crisis, and that's clear. Do you think technology will help us fill gaps?
No,
No.
technology doesn't solve anything about our ethical crises.
No,
In fact, it
but
easily
progressing and making our systems, bettering our systems in some way.
I wouldn't say so. Technology gives us
Tools, right?
technology.
Gives us tools.
It gives us tools, but we know right now these tools are being rapidly militarized, and they're leading to absolutely unprecedented concentrations of power that we have never seen before, because the owners of these tools not only are amassing trillions of dollars of personal wealth, but own our platforms, our privacy, our political systems, and increasingly our military systems. So no, these tools are not by themselves going to solve these problems. They're very powerful, they're very impressive, but our problems are, again, I'll say, political and ethical, not technological.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.